Hello. Good afternoon. I'm so glad to see all of you here. Welcome to the Sedro Woolley Rotary Club, the greatest club in the... All right. We have an invocation today from Eric.
Yes, we do. Please bow your heads. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to convene a gathering of the Sedro Woolley Rotary Club. We thank you for each and every one who has come today. You have blessed us with people who are truly concerned with the well-being of your people and our community. We thank you most of all, loving Father, for being here in our midst. Make your presence felt and take the lead in this meeting today. Thank you, Father, for we know you are always there to help your people. We thank you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And we have a song by Keith today.
Actually, by all of you folks here. So, since the Mariners are one game out of first place and have been kind of dabbling in first place and one game out, let's do Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Plus, it's a good, zippy song. Here we go. Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and crackers, Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Good for the Mariners. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
All right, thank you. Nice job, guys. Okay, do we have any visiting Rotarians today? Visiting Rotarians.
We are honored today to have our area district assistant governor, I should know what that is. Stephanie Hooper is here and she has 2 guests to introduce.
Visiting today with me is Doug and Emily Culver, and they have recently relocated from Seattle to the Sedro Woolley area, and they're visiting different Rotary clubs to see what time and day fits best for them. So be nice.
Welcome, guys. Do we have any other visiting Rotarians? And aside from Doug and Emily and our speakers, do we have any guests? No? All right. Well, if you didn't already know it, today is our Rotary golf tournament. It's today at Big Lake. I should make you aware that Daryl and I are going to win because we're the best golfers of all. So even if you're not golfing, I hope you can come out and join us for dinner and some good fellowships and good times. And then additionally, Nick, did you have anything to add or? All right, perfect. And then next Thursday is our almost famous salmon barbecue. So at Riverfront Park, I know that Josh and the committee have been very busy. I don't know the exact time. I think it's 5 or 5:30, but maybe somebody on the committee can correct me. Just come to Riverfront. Be hungry, bring your family. It's going to be great. And then I had said in the email that we have a service project opportunity. So the Helping Hands Food Bank is still looking for volunteers. So they're having an event. I don't know if we'll get to meet Jay Buhner if we go and help, but it would be pretty cool. So it's something for the youth. So if you have any questions, contact Becky Scrindy. She's got more information on that. And then the only other thing I have is that we have a board meeting on Tuesday at 5:30 at the Janicki offices. So if you have anything to add to the agenda, let me know. If you'd like to come, you're more than welcome. Do we have any other announcements? I feel like I'm looking at my sixth grade class right now with all the blank stares. All right, if there's no other announcements, then we're going to move on to the raffle.
As Bill Sendel would say, we have a raffle. Here we go. Get that baby going there, Eric. The first lucky winner is 5-5. Who has 5-5? All right, Rick, go for it. Perfect. Okay, you chose the beer. The next lucky winner is number 4. Number 4. Wow, we got a lucky table back there. Yes. It is. It is. Somebody's going to pay something here, I'm sure. Oh, winner picks table to pay $2 each. All right. All right. Hey, I'll tell you what. Hey, Nick, while you're up, could you pick up some money from? Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. There's a method to my madness here. Well, I'm almost guilty because the next number is 71. Here we go, 71. Thank you very much, Eric. Let's draw one more too. And I will take, here we go. I'll do the IPA. My wife likes IPA. Perfect. Oh my gosh, we have consecutive numbers here. Number 72. Who is lucky number 72? Teak Martin. Okay, Teak, awesome. Good job. Thanks, Ben. Look excited, Teak. Come on, man. 15 bucks. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Let's give Teak a round of applause for that. Thank you. Awesome. Good man. All right. That is the auction for today, or the raffle, I should say.
All right, so I am Sergeant at Arms. And not to let, where's Brock? Oh, that's right. That's right. He had to leave the country in shame. So I'm just gonna sit here with my trophy and we're gonna do some trivia. But first, if you're not wearing your name tag, that's $1. If you're not playing in tonight's golf tournament, that's also $1. All right, so the first question. Today is the Rotary Golf Tournament, and many of us will be vying to be named champion again, which I'm sorry to say will be me, so good luck. But by a technicality, in 2020, there was nobody that was named champion because of COVID. Who would be the reigning champions for that year? Mm-hmm. Any guesses? 2 names.
And probably Brock.
Nope. Michael Russell and Eric Johnston. All right. Brock Stiles loves to point out how many times his name is on the championship plaque. How many times is it actually named? 5? 4. $2. So in spite of his hubris, and Brock actually, in fact, not being the winningest Rotarian in the golf tournament, whose name does appear more times than Brock's and can claim the title? You got a name? No, close, actually. Missed it by one. Keith Sorsted is actually our winningest Rotarian. $2. So September 7th is National Beer Lovers Day. And I'm sure many of us will be consuming a quantity of it today at the tournament. But it shares this special day with a country's Independence Day. Which country is celebrating today? Well, you're heading in the right direction. Brazil is the country. $2. All right. And lastly, in gallons, how much beer does the United States consume in last year alone? How many gallons of beer? $6.4 billion gallons of beer last year. $2. All right. So happy bucks. I will actually start us out since I do have happy news. There's probably been news that has gone around and I've been a little MIA recently, but I am donating 200 happy bucks for getting married. Yeah. I met, my wife's name is Chris Ann. I met her just like all of you did, your spouses online. And she's from Texas, so she does have a little bit of an accent. That seems to always be the first talking point when people meet her. But while it was a short courtship, it was a long time coming and we couldn't be happier. So 200 happy bucks for that.
Eric, that's a tough one to follow. September 1st was my 70th birthday, and I'm happy that I made it that long, and I'm looking forward to many more years.
Have a happy 5. Tamara and I just returned from the cruise up to Alaska, the Inside Passage. I recommend it to everyone. It's really a great cruise.
I've got a happy couple bucks. 50 years ago, this past Tuesday, Mike Janicki and I, in the class of 1977, started our careers at Sedro Woolley High School. Did you know that? Did you know that, Mike? 50 years ago, you were a freshman in high school. 50 years ago. You did, we were locker partners, remember? Yeah. Just like you do now. So that's kind of cool. So when I'm the MC for homecoming this year, I'm the MC for the lip dub in the Queen Coronation. I'll have my annual with me from 1974. I usually would take my dad's, but now I get to take my own. So it's kind of weird, kind of creepy.
As of Saturday night, my father Les is a great grandfather.
I've got a happy 50. Monday is my 36th anniversary. Wife Gretchen can't be here. She's back caring for her 88-year-old parents in Delaware. So most of you haven't met her yet, but she is flying back and I'm surprising her. I have floor seats for Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind and Fire, and she has no idea. So it's pretty cool. Old timers.
Anybody else happy? Daryl.
I guess I better give $10 for returning from a cruise also up in the Baltics. We took in about 8 countries with 4 of my kids and my wife and their spouses. A wonderful time.
I got a happy 20. Won't be able to make the barbecue next week. My son is getting married on Friday. And it's the rehearsal dinner on Thursday. So pretty excited about that. I also wanted to give some happy bucks. I forgot to mention last week or a couple weeks ago when we talked about the crab trip that we did with Rothenbuehler. Like a great Rotarian, never says no, always says yes. I needed a boat for that trip, and Mike let me borrow his really nice boat. We got to take it out for the whole weekend, and it really made the trip that much better for everyone. So it's really great. Thanks, Mike.
Anybody else happy? All right.
I always feel silly doing this, but I'm going to introduce to you the person who's introducing our presentation today. So please welcome Julia up to the podium.
Today we have Susan Lange and Danny Westra. Danny's been with Youth Dynamics, Weston, excuse me, Danny Weston. He's been with Youth Dynamics 15 years and Susan 5, and they have this opportunity to share with you about this wonderful program that we have right here in the Skagit Valley and have had for several years. So please welcome Susan and Dan.
All right, thank you. We have a little PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Eric. All right. So I'm Susan Lange. I am the Director of Communications and Development at Youth Dynamics. I just celebrated my 5 years at Youth Dynamics. This go around, about 25 years ago, I was on staff. So I feel like I have this long history of a relationship with Youth Dynamics, which is very much a relational adventure youth ministry. And then obviously Danny, he's the local area director. So he oversees Mount Vernon, Burlington, and Sedro Woolley, and we're tag teaming today a little bit. I'll share a little bit more about the overall ministry and where we're at, and then Danny will talk about the more local ministry. So Youth Dynamics was founded actually in Anacortes in 1970 by Paul and Connie Evans. Just started out as a local grassroots ministry, just reaching teens, and it has grown over the last 53 years to be over 3 states in 18 locations, and we are growing. We have new locations throughout Idaho and also in Washington. I need to update my little map, but just to know that it started in Anacortes, and over the last 53 years, it is growing, and we have interest in Montana, also in Whitefish, to expand our ministry. So if you think or know of a location that we are not currently in, we can go there potentially. So Youth Dynamics serves youth age 11 to 18 in our kind of more core programs, and then obviously young adults. So there's this kind of progression of junior and senior high, and then obviously for our young adults, there's internships, summer staff, and then obviously staff opportunities. But we that's our sweet spot is junior and senior high school students. We are known as a relational adventure youth ministry. So I was doing a presentation yesterday and I said, you know, a lot of people know about Young Life, which is kind of a campus ministry model. And then Peak 7 is a adventure outfitter, a Christian adventure outfitter. It's like they had a baby or something, they got merged. So what we do is we are relationship minded, but we use adventure a lot in our programming to break down barriers with students. It's said that a weekend adventure can break down barriers and develop relationships with caring adults as 9 months of going to a coffee date on a weekly basis. So they're powerful, and we're a professional outfitter. So all the adventures that we go on they meet a standard. They're high quality, and it's a lot of fun. The mission of Youth Dynamics is to invite and challenge youth to a lifelong adventure with Christ and his church. And we do that, like I said, through relationship, but it's really at the more core level. So we want to get to know the student's story. We want to share our story. And at some point in the relationship, we share God's story. So it's less maybe preachy or kind of in your face a little, and more inviting, relational, caring. And obviously Danny will talk a little bit more about that. Youth Dynamics has 3 core ministries. We have the community, more campus ministry, for a better term, our adventures, which is our professional outfitter, and then retreats. And as much as they might seem like silos, they're really interconnected and blend well together. But for the sake of trying to share a little bit more about what Youth Dynamics is, these are our 3 core ministries. Oh, it's not working anymore. Oh, there we go. Okay. So in our community ministries, we offer some more programmed weekly activities and some less programmed, but they're on a weekly basis. So we have our drop-ins, which are just that you drop in, it's a safe place. Most likely it happens after school. We also have Connect, which is a little bit more of a programmed session throughout the week. We have discovery groups, which is more Bible study. And then obviously we have single and multi-day adventures. And this happens all year round, as much as our peak seasons are in the summer for our adventures. But, you know, Danny will share a little bit about how throughout the year, adventures are really a key component to reaching out to students. It's a draw. Each area of the, right now we're in 18 locations, but each area is unique to the community that they're in. So, you know, what might be similar or what might be happening in the Skagit Valley area might look differently over in the Wenatchee Valley area. But the core is the same. Our adventures, like I said, we are a professionally guided outfitter. We like to partner with not only the Youth Dynamics community ministries, but also other youth groups, Boy Scouts, and you know, some schools actually. So we work with the leadership on what's the outcome that you want, and working in connection with the leadership to provide that. Some of our adventures are rock climbing, whitewater rafting. We have an inflatable kayak program, obviously mountaineering, backpacking, horsemanship, and more. It was tough to find the one picture when sharing about adventures, because there's so many to choose from, because we do a lot. And then here's some more, just because we have a lot of fun. But in addition to a lot of fun, there's a lot of intention, right? There's a lot of purpose behind using these adventures as tools to develop relationships with students. And then over at Stonewater, over in Leavenworth, right outside of Plain, Washington, we have what's called Stonewater. It's a 158 acre property that we have a couple, we have a lodge, a chalet, obviously some places to pitch tents. But that property, as much as it's a resource for youth dynamics, it's also a resource for community partners, churches, even you guys. So what this does is it allows the property to be used to really serve and share with not just teens, but also adults, right? So anyway. So the core of what Youth Dynamics is doing is using God's creation to develop relationships with students. And we do that not only to provide relationships, but to promote individual growth, leadership skills, and character. And then Danny.
Me.
Yeah, he's a little bit more lively than me.
I'm a pacer. I kind of have to hold a mic. I'm sorry. I also talk too loud, so I'll hold it a little further away. So I'm Danny Weston, or at least that's what the students know me by. Been doing this for what feels like forever and utterly love it. As Susan was saying, our mission statement is to invite and challenge youth to a lifelong adventure with Christ and the church. We do this in our community, primarily through weekly events. So Mondays after school, kids drop by. I'm with students for 6 to 8 hours in a day. They hang out in our drop-in center somewhere around 6:30 or 7. We do a Monday evening event. The heart behind these events are to give kids an exciting, fun thing to come to so we can get to know them and have relationship with them. So literally in the 18th, I'm a little bit off on my dates, but on the 18th, we're throwing slime at each other in a giant foam pit because kids will come to stuff like that. Why not? On a Monday night when students come, instead of getting up front and giving some sort of big message, often what we do is I kind of just tell them who we are. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but in today's culture, kids are sold stuff constantly. So some of the older tactics of doing youth ministry are less effective. Giving them a fun event, buying a pizza, and then telling them about Jesus. They look at you and go, there's the sales pitch. And it really doesn't help. So often when I talk to kids on a Monday night, I'm like, hey, I'm Danny. This is Youth Dynamics. We have an agenda, right? We're a bunch of Christians who love Christ and we want to tell people about it. You will hear about Jesus if you hang out here. Up front, but you don't have to adhere to our agenda. We are here to have a relationship with you. So you don't have to agree with me. You could think I'm the stupidest person in the world, but I want to get to know you. And that is kind of that core value, again, rolling back around to that idea of relationship. It's building relationship with these kids to know where they're coming from, to know what they're going through. So when we share Christ, it's more on an equal playing field, one where they can hear us and not feel sold something or talked down to. So often that's kind of what a Monday looks like, some crazy event, us sharing who we are as Youth Dynamics. And then Wednesdays, we run some more program. Kids stop by after school, hang out all day if they can. We do some drop-in, and then I do this thing we call Soda and Talk. We've been doing this for almost 5 years now, where I literally just open a can of soda, sit down with 15 to 20 kids and have a conversation. I work out questions. The questions kind of have a silly format where it's like, hey, I ask some sort of goofy icebreaker. I'll ask, who's your favorite superhero? What kind of animal would you ride into a joust? And then I ask them something about their past, their childhood, where they come from. What was your favorite Christmas memory? What's the worst thing you ever did to your sibling? Something. Whatever pops in your head, you can share. Things are pretty genuine and authentic when kids share, because we kind of create this environment for them to share this open way. And then we ask some sort of serious question. More often than not, they have kind of a spiritual bent to them because we are a Christian organization. But sometimes they're like, hey, I read this thing in the news. What do you think about it? But my purpose isn't to speak to the kids, but get the kids comfortable talking, right? Like if our model is 3-story, I share my experience with God. I want to hear their experience and where they come from. And then I want to tie that back into God's story and how God can impact their lives. Giving them a place where they feel free to speak is priceless. And also a place where we can communicate and not have to agree. We live in a very polarized world right now, as everybody knows. So giving a bunch of young people where they can feel free to have a conversation and be completely in disagreement with me, and I still want to have a relationship with them. I still want to see them the next day. I don't tell them to get lost. I try not to laugh. Every once in a while I chuckle because they say something utterly ridiculous, but I apologize because it's not, they can have their opinion and we can have this discussion. And that's all part of building a relationship. After that, we usually share a meal together on Wednesday evenings. Eating together is great. I tell them it's my table. So at home, I make all my kids put their phones away. All the phones go away. At least 15, 20 minutes. We're going to eat a meal together and talk. That's another one of those priceless experiences that some kids never even have. I've worked with a lot of kids who've never sat at a table with their parents. So coming together and sitting down for a meal is something they look for. I actually had kids who didn't show up to Soda and Talk and would come to sit to eat dinner with me. They'd show up late on purpose just to come eat dinner. And I'm like, sweet, like let's sit down at a table together. That other part is that we're a lifelong relationship with Christ in the church. So we are partnering with some local churches right now. Mostly we're partnering with Bethany Covenant. So I take some kids from there on Wednesday and drive them to their youth group in the evening. We play some games. I kind of hang out with them. That's most of these kids' first ever experience into a local church. So we go hang out in church together a little bit. Sometimes they come and play the games and want to leave and get picked up by their parents. That's fine. I'm excited to get them in the door. So this kind of all builds to this like week in, week out of me being in these kids' lives. Our events all run on Mondays and Wednesdays right now. If I have more volunteers, I get more events. Just throwing that out there. But that's kind of what's happening. And then during the week, I meet with students regularly. We go and get coffee. I phone call, lots of text messages. I refuse to get on Discord, even though they really want me on Discord. I'm too old. I'm tired of the new apps. But just trying to figure out like ways to be in these kids' lives rhythms. People always ask me like, what do you do for your job? And I laugh at that question because it's really, I become whatever the students need in their lives. Like that's part of a relational ministry. So I've done things like help do homework, help find houses, help fill out job applications, to even weirder things of like visiting kids when they go to juvie or helping a kid get emancipated. Like some of it's dark and hard because I'm in these kids' lives where in whatever facet they're needing help. And we try to be a safe place where they can be in our ministry. That's kind of our week in, week out. We have weekly activities. We do reduce costs for adventures. So our weekly activities are free. I raise funds. We do stuff weekend. I feed the kids. All of that's free. Our adventures, because it's in-house, so unlike other ministries I've been a part of over the years, if I'm going to take a bunch of kids rock climbing, I'm going rock climbing this Friday. It's $15. Let's go rock climbing, right? Because we own the gear. We have the staff to run it. Nobody's getting paid. It's just to upkeep gear is all we need to cover. Need to replace ropes about every 3 years so we don't have anybody fall, right? Pretty simple. Whitewater rafting's the same. I could take a group of kids whitewater rafting down at Stonewater for like 25 to 30 bucks usually. We can do multi-day extended trips. We just got off 2 trips this summer. One was, let me not mix up. We were in Idaho going down, not the Deschutes, but the Payette. Thank you. My brain spaced for a minute. Like that whole trip, we had a 5-day trip. I was gone with students. The whole trip cost about 250 bucks. I again, raise extra funds, help the kids do some fundraisers. I think the most any kid paid was 110. So like we try to bring this down so it's very doable for kids to go. I always tell students it's not an issue of money if you can't go. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's get you some fundraising. We will get you on this trip. Which is beautiful because, like Susan was saying earlier, the beauty of pairing community relationship ministry with adventures. I've been at this a long enough time now that if I wanted to have a kid in a place where they could hear my voice, trust me, and we could have a dialogue and I could share the gospel and they don't put up a brick wall, in and out of community ministry, that could take me anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. Right? Like, kids don't naturally trust adults, especially if they have any trauma in their background. They likely weren't doing well in school. They might come from a broken home. That isn't an instant relationship, but I take that same kid and we share an experience together. We go rock climbing, they're hanging off a cliff and feel terrified, even though they're the safest they've probably ever been. That shared experience instantly creates a bond. We have that shared experience to lean back on. Hey, remember that time when we were out there and you were crying on a cliff face? Like, you'll be fine. I talked you down then, we can talk now. And that's the beauty of pairing these things, right? Like, if I can get kids on adventures with me, we have that shared experience that is then a part of our story. It's not a tactic to trick them. It's not manipulation, but it does fast forward the amount of time I have to spend with each kid. And if I only have 4 years to spend with a kid to leave them in a better place than they were before, the quicker the better. Yeah, here's some more pictures. I'm not queuing slides at all, so thank you, Susan. Here's some of the kids we've worked with over the last year. They're absolutely great. I love a lot of these faces. I had a lot of seniors I graduated this last year. I laugh this coming year, I'm a lot of middle schoolers and freshmen. So it's going to be a huge shift from what we were doing last year. I was going to share a story. So we were talking about these river trips. I took this young girl, Grace, on a river trip with us. I don't have a picture of Grace, otherwise I would point. But Grace is connected at the hip to her boyfriend. Absolutely at the hip. I love them, but you will never see them apart. And so it's really been hard to get to know Grace because Grace is a connection to Elijah. Like, they come as a package. And so I took both of them on our first trip, and we went, and Grace came out of her shell. First time she'd ever been on a trip, first time she'd ever been able to like achieve something very difficult. And she was just over the moon. She's like, this was the best experience I've ever had. I happened to have a second trip that the local church booked that I was also going to run, and a few of the YD kids were going to try to tag along on. Elijah couldn't come. I had some spaces left over. Grace is like, can I go on the trip next week? She's like, I don't know if I can pay for it. I'm in between houses because my parents are moving, and I'm literally living in a trailer with my siblings right now, and I just want out of the house. And I'm like, absolutely, we're going to get you on this trip. Like, come up with $20, we'll cover the rest somehow. So she came up with $20 and hopped on this trip with us. So Grace wound up going on this trip, just Grace. And I have not gotten to connect with her at all better than I did on that trip. All of a sudden, we're talking about her faith struggles and why she doesn't trust God or the church. And it isn't like she had an instant transformation. We got a journey to go with Grace. But it is that like intentional moment out of her shell that we got to spend over a 4-day week on a river with no cell phones and no cell phone service and whitewater rapids every day. That again, put her in her element. She was like, I'm good at this. I can do this. I'm so excited to be part of Youth Dynamics, this place that's safe for me, where I can take my concerns and not be mocked or laughed at, or feel judged. So that's just a small snippet of like a person that just has been impacted this last year. I could probably tell stories about people all day, but that's not the agenda, and I have a tendency to talk too long. Did I have anything else? No, questions. Does anybody have any questions? Ooh, the comment question. So the most effective way kids seem to want to come is actually word of mouth. Their friends invite them, they come. Other than that, we do a lot of work. We've been on the truancy boards, so helping out with truancy boards, offering youth dynamics as an alternative for kids to come to. Mount Vernon and Burlington school districts don't let us on campus anymore. It used to be that we could go on campus back a long time ago. They're closed to all Christian nonprofits. That's not a thing anymore. Sedro Woolley is sort of opened up, but it's small. Sometimes we can come help with like lunch hours. So there's a little bit of contact there, but in that we're not allowed to like say, hey, we're Youth Dynamics, come hang out with us, because we're a Christian organization and that'd be a proselytizing, not okay. So other than that, word of mouth, I work with a lot of kids who have community service hours. So that happens pretty regularly. If a kid has to finish their community service hours, they can come to YD. I'll get them jobs. Some of those kids stick around. And then just events, flyers, online posts. Right now, pre-COVID, we were pretty regularly 60 to 70 kids in the building. Now we're rocking somewhere between 20 and 30. I haven't redone the roster from last year. Last year, we had about 150 kids on roster of kids that we had face-to-face contact with, but not necessarily would come regularly. So that's kind of, if that answers.
Sorry, the guides that you use, are they on staff?
Yeah, all our guides are on staff. We're all support-based, so we raise our own funds to work with Youth Dynamics. But they're fully trained professional guides on staff, which is why our adventures can be very affordable. We do have a lot of volunteers too.
So you mentioned the rock climbing, but I saw a picture in your presentation. Can you explain the ice wall to?
Oh, ice wall. Yes, we do have an ice wall. So Stonewater is kind of our retreat center. In the wintertime, we do a big winter camp with all the students. We call it hot dogging. Don't Google hot dogging. We should probably rename it. You might get a naked person skiing. We did not realize that in the first branding round. The students laugh every time I say it too. Don't recommend Googling, but that's what we call it. But they make an ice wall every year and we do ice climbing on base. So we don't have outdoor ice climbing, but a controlled wall we work off of. It's fun. If you've never been ice climbing, I recommend it.
They do it as a fundraiser. You can actually go and make a donation and fun there.
Yeah, Stonewater has an ice climbing fundraiser. Ice climbing's easier than rock climbing. At least I think so.
I'm curious about the students that you are seeing now. Are 15, 20 years ago, is it a different dynamic with the students that were coming in as opposed to the students that you're seeing now?
So it's funnier than that. My time span is longer. I did a 3.5 year chunk right out of high school. So back in like 2006, earlier. And then I went and finished my college degree and came back. So I've been back 11 years. I've been working with youth 20 plus years. So yes, is the easy answer. Kids in the between like late 90s to about 2010, the attraction model of ministry worked really well. I could take those kids to a concert somewhere. It doesn't matter what band's playing. They're gonna have the time of their life. They wanted to do these big activities. Kind of with the rise of social media and the rise of anxiety and depression and stuff that has kind of entered their world post-COVID. We got kids that are a lot more skeptical, dealing with a lot of mental health. Mental health has always been around, but it is definitely way more than it's ever been. Way too many choices in their life. Kids just don't know where to go or what to choose, which creates more anxiety. Not to mention gender or any other big buzzword topic you want to put on the pile. So students are very different, a lot less willing to engage. They don't want to be embarrassed at all. They don't want to have any sort of awkward feeling. So getting them in a place where they're comfortable and feel safe is kind of more important now than it's ever been before. Used to be you could do a youth event and you'd be like, hey, eat this onion. And everybody would laugh and they think it's the funniest thing in the world. Wouldn't recommend that anymore. So youth ministry is definitely, like, working with students in general has had to morph in the last two decades. Go ahead.
Bronco Hughie.
I love Bronco.
Been a good friend of mine over the years, and he was kind of my segue into donating to you folks. You need to get out and give this program. This is an excellent program, by the way. And because I didn't really have a clue, even though I've had a personal relationship with Bronco, the extensive nature of what you guys do and how broad you are in various states and the locations within Washington. So I know that my contributions will be increased because it takes a ton of money for you guys to do what you do. And I think it's a great ministry.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Is your daily and weekly things just in Burlington, or do you do stuff in Sedro Woolley?
I expected this question too. Thank you. It's kind of funny. So there's an ideal that we've always been aiming for, but it takes more staff and volunteers. As of currently, it rotates. So everybody meets us at the cabin in Burlington. When I started the first time back in like 2003, all the students were from mostly Mount Vernon. When I came back next time, most of the students were from Burlington. About 5 to 6 years ago, all the kids were from Sedro Woolley, and they would just come to us with this massive influence. That was probably the most kids I ever had. They were all from Woolley. Multiple times we've tried to open other locations when we have enough volunteer and staff to do that. We currently don't. I hate to say that out loud. Ideally, I would have an area meeting in each location and then just do large events together, because it is multiple different high schools with mildly different kids. But that takes staff and volunteers. So that's the ideal. Currently right now, we have most of our kids coming out of Mount Vernon and probably 25% or so out of Sedro Woolley and less than that out of Burlington currently. A lot of Mount Vernon kids this year. Like I said, they seems to cycle about every 4 years. I'll have like a group of kids that come through all roughly the same age, and then they graduate out and a new group of kids come in, and somehow they're always from a different high school, middle school, which makes me laugh because I don't know how that happens. It just does, and I accept it.
So you mentioned two age groups, the youth and the young adult. How is the programming different?
Okay, so that's also a good staffing question, but really because it's relational ministry, it winds up being more of a lifelong ministry than just a high school ministry. So due to like safety, our program runs middle school and high school. You might wind up with a super senior, but it's like, 12 to 18 is kind of the breadth of the program. And that way we don't have a 22-year-old dating a 14-year-old. Like logistics, you just don't want something like that to happen. We don't want to be the place that introduces those two people. It's not a great idea. So things we offer for graduates, we do summer staff, we do staff hires, we have lots of volunteer opportunities. But more so than that, like these kids made relationships with you for 4 to 6 years. Probably 25% of them I stay in contact with. So it's hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Hey, your kid's born. Let me come to the hospital and say hi to your new baby. Because it's a relational ministry, a lot of that doesn't change. You had some thoughts?
Well, we also have like a leadership development. So in our junior and senior high school program is called Life and Leadership Training. And it's a 6-week internship in the summer for that age group. And they're at one of our adventure bases. So they actually are physically there for 6 weeks and immersed with challenges and leadership development. And then once they graduate, we have a couple different options. One is the Adventure Bible School, which is located over at Stonewater. It's a 5-week program. There's one that starts in September and then another one in the spring. And it's a 5-week, and that's 18 years and older. So this is eventually, our hope is that it will be like a gap year program where for 9 months they are being discipled, they're being fed. And then for our summer staff, because that's kind of where our peak adventures are with regards to whitewater rafting and backpacking and stuff. Then they can then put that training into action, right? And then we also have a 1-year internship both at an adventure base or at a community ministry youth center. So
Yeah, so I think that's kind of, I also laugh, that's a new thing in the last like 5 years. We extended the age group of what we were working with because practically we found ourselves still working with these kids. I call them kids because I have a hard time transitioning in my head. Adults. Any other questions? She looks like she's ready to come grab the mic away from me.
before that happens, we do want to invite you all to come and experience the ministry. So every summer, we train, or excuse me, every spring we train raft guides. I'm in the process of becoming a certified raft guide, whitewater raft guide. But part of our training before we have students in the summer is to have guest paddlers. I call it butts and boats, because we really need people to sit in the boat so our guides in training can get certified before we take students out, right? So it's a key opportunity. Yes. And it's a lot of fun, and it's an opportunity for, I'd love it if you, Keith, were to come for that, if you like that. But we also, yes. That's part of their certification. So yes.
They would have had training ready.
Yes.
And they're just trying to pass, and they'll have a guide in the boat with them.
Yes. It's very
We
safe.
don't send you down the river alone, I promise. It's safe. I'm serious.
Yeah. Anyway, and then obviously coming to Stonewater, we have facilities that can handle up to 45 guests at a time in our chalet, 32 at our lodge. We're currently going through a renovation to expand that to 65 in our chalet. So anyway, we invite you to at least check us out.
Thank you, guys. So I have a gift for you. It's a world famous Rotary pen. So you guys can mark Carl in as your first volunteer to be your next river rafting guide. So I just want to say thank you to Stephanie and Doug and Emily for joining us today at the greatest Rotary Club in the universe. I don't know if you heard that, but, and Danny and Susan, thank you. That sounds like a great program. And I'm going to write your email down because I have 2 kids that sound like they'd be good for the program. So any other announcements? We have golf tonight. We have barbecue next weekend. And I stole this joke from Sandra Witten. So if you don't like it, you can blame her. So a police officer jumps into a squad car and calls the station. He says, I have an interesting case here. He says, a woman just shot her husband for stepping on the floor she just mopped. And the sergeant asked, well, have you arrested her? And the officer replied, no, not yet. The floor's still wet. Okay.